Hello everybody. In today's video, we are going to look at a couple topics, specifically sentiment analysis and as well as screen scraping too. We're going to screen scrape some Yelp reviews to get the data to do our sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is also known as opinion mining, and what we do is try to analyze text using a couple different methodologies and try to understand, is something positive, neutral, negative, what's the meaning, what's the takeaway, what's the real purpose of a body of text, right? So I think Yelp reviews would be a great example. People are saying they had a great experience at a restaurant, or maybe just mediocre experience. I don't think too many people are posting about mediocre, but if you had a positive experience or negative, people might post about that. I think there's actually more negative posts than positive, but if people are really satisfied about the experience, they would go to Yelp and talk about it, right? So this is what the source data looks like. I'm looking at Manhattan and specifically searching for Mexican food, okay, in New York City. So that's going to be the source of the data. We're going to screen scrape this website using Selenium. Selenium has a bunch of libraries that can do all kinds of things to interact with the web page. Click buttons, scroll up, scroll down, refresh a page, navigate a page, just like a human being would doing. So this library, Selenium, is going to do the whole lift for us. So here's the URL that we're looking for. I just showed you that. We are going to run the driver to get the URL and look at ratings for restaurants. Okay, we are using CSS cascading style sheets selector aref href biz. That is the type of selector. So if I go back to this web page and hit F12, we can see the source behind the page. Open DevTools, yeah, sure, remember. So we can see all the HTML source code behind this page. If I right click on this element right here and go to inspect, it's going to take me to that specific place in the HTML, okay? And you can see this is highlighted as I move through the link here. Sorry, through the HTML, you can see different elements become highlighted on the left, right? So that's where we're getting all the source data from. All of these div classes have names, and all of them are unique names too. That's how you can. This is how you can identify everything on the HTML page. So this class is y-css. It's kind of cryptic here. CSS-LIYLDW. So you have to look for these identifiers over here and use that for your CSS selection search. And anything between the quotes is what we're searching for. So I did the search prior to recording this video, make sure all the code works fine. That's how I got this. And we're getting the restaurant links right here. Let me go ahead and run this as I'm talking. So click in the cell, hit Control Enter, and the code is going to run and then screen scrape everything from that source. Okay, so you have to look for each element class name right here. This one is called CSS IBM 1BM GOF7. So kind of cryptic, but again, that's you look into these things over here. If you look at address, where is it here? Midtown West. So you'll start to see some of these addresses. It's a little bit painful the first couple times you do it, but after you do this several times, it becomes much more intuitive. So you look for these codes over here, YCSSWFBTSU. Again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's the identifier for this address, Midtown West, right? So you find all of these sentiments, run the code, and we're going to see what the results are here in just a minute. So running. So it does take a little while to get acquainted with all of these CSS selectors, but it's a great exercise to try. You can copy and paste this code. It's going to run as is. It's going to produce the results that we expect with all of the details for all these restaurants right here through the through the entire list. But again, yeah, at the beginning, it's a little bit painful. It does take some time, but the payoff is pretty huge. You can screen scrape almost any kind of website you can imagine, anything with HTML, with columns and rows as the source data, any kind of CSV, even PDFs, Excel files that are saved online, any kind of web-based data source can be accessed through Selenium, imported into your Jupyter notebook. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right here, and then um, collate it into a data frame, or just print it out, or somehow collect it, and then you can do some interesting reporting on the data, right? So all kinds of plotting, charting, getting visual renderings of the data, right, to create reports and then present that to your audience. So any kind of plot or chart is going to make the data more meaningful. It's going to jump off the page. It's really going to tell a very interesting story for whatever type of analysis that you're doing, right? So still screen scraping here, takes a little while, and we do have to go through a bunch of these links over here. Take a quick look how many they have total. Oh yeah, and another thing that Selenium is doing is clicking these buttons to advance to the next page. That's why it's taking a little while to run here. So has to screen scrape all of these restaurants, get all the details behind it, get the reviews, and collect all of this information. So it's actually doing a lot of work. And Selenium is so useful. It's actually interacting with the web page and clicking on these buttons. As I scroll down to the bottom, I can see page 1. Now we're on 2. I can click to 3. So Selenium is doing all of these button clicks over there for us. When you go through the code, you'll see all of the you'll see all the logic right here. Try, except. So we're trying to do this. We're looking for this CSS name. If it doesn't exist, just print unknown, because we can't find it. So it's a little bit dirty. The data is not super clean and presented in a format that you can just go grab it. You have to do a little bit of a labor here and make some effort to go ahead and look for all these elements, scrape it out, and then assemble it. Down here at the end, we have all the logic tightened up. So it actually is doing quite a bit of work here. And yeah, we're starting to see some results. Okay, so this is good. So in some cases, let's see, not found or timed out. So some of these addresses, it just couldn't find. It just doesn't exist for whatever reason. But we do have some very interesting results coming in. So we have Norfolk Street rating 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. We have the address here, New York. Here's the zip code, 10002, and such a small space with good food and margaritas. I think that's what that is. We visited on Tuesday, and it was empty until we left around 8. Okay, so it goes on with the review here. So this is working great. So we're getting all the details printed out right here in a very easy to understand format, and understanding like what these ratings are. So 2 out of 10. So that's what the code is doing too. So the sentiment rating is 2 out of 10, not a very good rating. Sentiment rating should be 10 out of 10. Well, that's for the best, right? I went here with a group of friends and was disappointed. Okay, so that's how we get to 2 out of 10. So totally makes sense, right? This guy did not have a good experience, 2 out of 10. And that's what the sentiment rating is telling us right here, right? So if we go down to find another one, okay, 9.9 out of 10. So nearly perfect, not quite for some reason. There's a little hesitation here for giving a perfect rating. Very small. The food is very good. Handcrafted cocktails, a little expensive, but worth it. Obviously, I made a mistake. So yes, so it's doing exactly what we'd expect. A little expensive, so that's kind of a ding on this restaurant, but worth it. Okay, so that offsets the sort of not negative comment, but this is something that's brought to our attention. The restaurant is expensive, but totally worth it too. So we got almost a 10 out of 10 rating, 9.9, because it's a little bit pricey, right? So let's look at just a couple more. I think you get the idea. 9.5 out of 10. So again, that's what the code is doing for us, creating this line right here, sentiment analysis, right? And that comes from this review right here. Came for the happy hour and had a great experience. The food and drinks were well priced. Okay, so all positive. The tacos were dank. My drink was strong, and the guac was creamy. Okay, 5 stars. And so the customer gave it 5 stars. Our tool right here is giving it almost perfect, 9.5. So let's just look at one more. I think you understand what's going on here, right? So the code is doing some pretty cool stuff, screen scraping Yelp, and we're getting our own sentiment analysis, not just what the customer is providing, but what our business logic here is telling us. Here's 9.6 out of 10. Food is all right, could be better, so I don't think I'll be back. Actually, that's kind of a high rating. Doesn't sound like a super positive rating, but that's what the tool came up with. 9.6 out. Okay, one more here. Likely won't return and no longer recommend. Sentiment analysis 9 out of 10, 9.8 out of 10. So that's a little bit unusual. That's probably an outlier. This thing is not perfect, but you can see how it's doing the screen scraping and making recommendations on our behalf based on the restaurant's review or the customer's review of each restaurant. Okay, so hopefully that was insightful. Hopefully you learned a couple new tricks today. I'm going to post all this code with the video, so you'll have the source code. You can go ahead and copy paste this into your own Jupyter notebook and run it as is. And then, of course, you can pass in any kind of URL. You can do any kind of screen scraping, right? And this is just one example, but there's countless examples of how to do screen scraping. You do have to look for those specific element IDs. These have some kind of cryptic, kind of weird codes, but again, you can get all of that when you go to a review and right-click the review. You go down here to inspect and put your mouse over it, and it's going to be highlighted right there. You see that? When I mouse over it, the highlight goes to that specific part. Okay, and that's how you're going to find your IDs for the CSS selectors. Okay, hopefully that was useful. Thanks for your time today. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.